there is no shame. That is no longer a leverage point. Here is Kamala Harris asking Bill Barr. So this is both an example of of Barr being completely evasive, an example and a moment where we're going to see what's going going forward in terms of what we can anticipate, where Kamala Harris asks Barr if the White House suggested the DOJ investigate anyone else. And here it is.
Barr, has the president or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone?
I wouldn't.
Yes or no?
Could you repeat that question?
I will repeat it.
Pause it. I mean, now look, he hasn't forgotten what the question is. He's looking, what is the word that I can hang my hat on? What is the flaw in your question that's going to allow me to answer this? So continue.
Has the president or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone? Yes or no, please, sir?
The president or anybody else?
Seems you would remember something like that and be able to tell us.
Yeah, but I'm trying to grapple with the word suggest. I mean, there have been discussions of matters out there that they have not asked me to open an investigation, but...
Perhaps they've suggested?
I don't know. I wouldn't say suggest.
Hinted?
I don't know.
Inferred? You don't know. Okay.
What?
I don't know. It's so obvious, right? I mean, you don't even have to think, of course. I mean, Trump doesn't need to ask him. He tweets it. He puts it out on his Twitter feed. It's like Michael Cohen said, I mean, you don't even need a code. All you have to do is look at Trump's Twitter feed to find out what he wants and then do it. I mean, that's clearly. And Barr seems to be very willing to go down that road. He's made it very clear that he's concerned about, the, quote, spying on the Trump campaign, that he's concerned about, whether or not the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails were handled properly. He apparently, Trump was on Hannity last week saying that he was that Barr was going to handle this Ukraine story, which is the new thing.
I want to get to that in a second, but let me just stay with one thing about this Barr thing. It's not just that Donald Trump puts it out there and he knows, in the same way that like Matt knows, oh, Digby's on. Sam is going to want the Digby song queued up, even though he never said a word to me. I don't know if I've said the words to Matt, cue up the Digby song in months, right? He just does it because he knows that's what I want. But this also is an indication that clearly it came up in the White House. And clearly Barr knows it wasn't just a conversation one-on-one with the president. There were other people there that Barr does not fully trust that wouldn't tell this story. Otherwise, he would have just been very quick and say no. And so he's parsing this whole thing that clearly they're in a room with other people and somebody is saying, there's this Clinton thing. It was never fully investigated. That's why you'd have to grapple with suggest, right? Or inferred. Like, I don't know if you could say that's an inference that I should investigate it. This Biden thing's never been investigated. I'm sure Bernie Sanders has things that need to be investigated. There's every single one of them has investigations that you would expect the Department of Justice would investigate. Is that an inference or a suggestion? I don't know.
Well, we know how that's done because in the Mueller report, it's all laid out, these conversations that Trump had with McGahn, in which he was telling him to fire, he didn't come out and say, I want you to fire, Robert Mueller. I want you to do it right now. He didn't say those words. But he says in a dozen different ways that he wants him gone and that he's not the right guy and that I want you to call Rosenstein and tell him, that Mueller has to be gone and all this kind of stuff. I mean, this is how he talks. I mean, even Trump, as dim-witted as he is, knows enough to talk like a mobster and not just, come right out and say it. And of course that's what happened. And you're right, I hadn't thought about that. But you're right, because Barr knows that other people were there, and this is the leakiest White House in history, and he has to be concerned that if he lies outright, that he's going to get,
Right.
that somebody's going to spill the beans. And I hadn't thought about that, why he was struggling there, because it's easy enough for him to lie. And of course, he is a liar. I mean, I have no doubt about it that he will lie. I mean, this guy is a rank partisan and has been for 30 years. He is somebody who, I mean, he predates Trump, and he has, finally found the perfect environment to do what he has always wanted to do. There's no resistance anymore within the Republican Party, and the Democrats seem stymied, and the public is confused, and this is his moment. And there's a whole bunch of these people that are in there. And McGahn was one of them, by the way. I mean, he was packing the courts the entire time he was putting up with Trump screaming in his face, and McGahn was pretending that he was a hero to the press, and then in the Mueller report kind of comes off that way. But he's no hero. The guy packed the courts with the most far-right extremist judges you could find for the 2 years that he was there. He got the job done. So there's a whole bunch of these guys like that, and Barr is one of them.
Yep.
And he's going to be very formidable going forward because he showed it back in 1992 when he sicked the DOJ on Bill Clinton, and didn't succeed. But he showed that he's willing to do that, and he'll do it again.
That's the thing, is that they're going to weaponize the DOJ.
Yeah.
And we already have a hint of this. And look, we're already seeing it with Biden. Biden, I think it's possible, of all the candidates in the Democratic race, is my least desired candidate to win. All right, so let me put that out there. With that said, there's every indication that this Ukrainian scandal is total BS, and I'm only going by, look, I don't know much about what goes on in the Ukraine. I'm going by the responses of this woman Daria Kaleniuk, who is the executive director of the Anti-Corruption Center in Ukraine, okay? And this other guy, Oliver Bulla, who is has literally written a book on Ukrainian corruption. And they're both talking about this New York Times article that talked about this supposedly Ukrainian scandal as being BS. And we know Rudy Giuliani is over there talking to the Ukrainians saying, if you revive this, we will help you. And
unbelievable.
And in fact, it was reported in the same story, I think, as the Times piece. I think it was the same story.
It was.
And
I don't know why it wasn't the lead of the Times piece. I mean, they did do a good job with the headline, saying that the story was being pushed by Trump's allies. But then they go and lay out this whole, alleged conspiracy. And then about, two-thirds of the way through, they mention that Rudy Giuliani's been over there trading government favors, apparently. He has no actual authority to do such a thing, but that's what he's done. In exchange for going after Biden's son, as a way to hurt Biden's campaign. It's right there in the story, and I'm going, are you kidding me? I mean, that's the lead. The president's personal lawyer is doing this.
And there's no reason to believe that the Department of Justice will not go ahead and open up an investigation to give those charges more weight. And regardless of where it's heading, and the idea of Bill Barr being praised, and you have all these moderate Democrats now. There was a piece out there who are like, on second thought, maybe Bill Barr wasn't such a good idea. And
I laughed out loud when I saw that.
And here's the thing: the Democrats could never have stopped Bill Barr from getting confirmed, but creating the narrative around Bill Barr and creating the narrative is why Bill Barr got away with the 3 weeks that he's had to to mediate essentially the Mueller report. And